The corona economy, folks. We got the new layer of economy. It's called the corona economy, where everybody's making money out of this corona business. And people are also learning, or some maybe refuse to learn. I mean, the spokesperson of the president of the republic, Cyril Ramaphosa, should have just learned from Cyril Ramaphosa. Remember the time when he was asked in parliament about the 500,000 donation money from Busasa by the former DA leader, Musi Maimane, who's now the OSA leader, one South Africa movement. And Mr. Ramaphosa said, I asked my son at a close range about this issue. And he assured me that this money is clean. I mean, essentially paraphrasing. And I also looked at the contract myself. He's doing advisory business internationally and locally. And I assure you, South Africans, that if I find out that my son had been involved in illegal business, I will personally be the one that's going to be grabbing him and taking him to the police station myself. You know, just like the way Selachiko Twala took his son to the police station. Remember that, folks? And now we just found out that the COVID-19 tender, one of the tender money has been awarded to the husband of the spokesperson to the President of the Republic, the President, Cyril Ramaphosa. And she said this, talking about her husband. He did engage me after he had received the commitment letter to supply PPEs to the Gauteng Department of Health, and I expressed my reservations on him doing business with the provincial government. My understanding is the commitment letter was subsequently cancelled and no money was paid to him, said Kusela. Right? Textbook. Sounds like the Honorable the President Cyril Ramaphosa saying that I looked at my son point blank and asked him this question. So on the 19th of July, Sunday, the Sunday Independent headline, husband of presidency spokesperson's 125 million PPE tender bonanza. They're making a killing. And when you look at the items, the prices of the items over here, they are super inflated, you know, super inflated. And it's unbelievable. The prices are super inflated. Listen to this. For example, this is the excerpts of the article. For example, Royal Baka, I hope I'm not butchering the name, is Kusela's husband's company, and his name is what does the name say? Tandisizwe, you know, essentially a lover of the nation, of the republic. For example, Royal Baka charged the Gauteng Department of Health 58 rand per surgical mask, which has a regulated price of 12 rand 48. It charged 85 rand per 500 milliliter unit of Actigem alcohol sanitizer, which is regulated at 46 rand 37 cents, and 7 rand per medical waste bag, which has a regulated fee of 1 rand 80. DECO was awarded contracts to supply 1 million medical waste plastic bags and 500,000 each of dust masks, sanitizers, and surgical masks. And listen to this. On top of that, an insider said the department spent 2.5 billion in 3 months on PPE suppliers, the majority of which had been in existence for less than a year and had no record of value add. So the majority of these companies that's been awarded the tenders for the PPEs, sadly enough, they're less than 1 year old. And look at all this pricing. Isn't it nice? The Competition Commission was out paying for Discam's Blood and all other companies for inflating prices. Remember, the wine monopoly capital is inflating prices in order to rob our people of their monies. But listen to this. This company, and it's funny now, the spokesperson in the presidency, Mrs. Diko Kusela, she just says, I mean, it just boggles the mind. All of a sudden, they realize that she's working with the president of the republic. The husband gets a tender of 125 million rands. By the way, to be fair, in the article, he rebuts that. He said, hey, listen, upon reflection and yada, 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 I've then realized that this is going to raise an issue of perceived conflict of interest. So I told them, I'm no longer doing this, essentially. But I mean, imagine, when did they realize that whatever business that they would be undertaking would be seen as a conflict of interest? I mean, or are they saying it now because they've been caught? Who are they going to blame? The Eastern Cape MEC, or the one who had allowed the usage of scooters, tricycles, whatever they are, the bikes, is now blaming apartheid road infrastructure for the reason why they are using scooters to carry grandmothers and grandfathers, essentially out of their villages to be assisted, and being, ferried to the hospitals. So now she's saying we using the scooters because of apartheid. Apartheid is to be blamed. Okay, regardless of whether the ANC government have been in power for over 24 years, they've been there since 1994, but no, we have a problem with infrastructure in terms of roads. So our roads are not good. That's why we're using the scooters, and I'm blaming apartheid. It would have been a nice excuse to blame another political party. Maybe say the ANC had governed for 10 years and maybe the DA then got a 5-year deal of governing, and who knows, the EFF 1.5 year. And then at least you'd say, when we're governing for 10 years, we are on a trajectory to build roads for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. And then the DA came in and governed the country and stopped the whole process. We blaming them. But no, we just have to blame apartheid for this. I mean, this is appalling. This is unbelievable. And as you have seen now, there's just more and more problems in terms of unemployment, that is looking at us in our eyes, and it's not selecting. It doesn't care which industry you're in. I mean, look at the media now. Prime media also is going to retrench. Just a couple of days ago, Naspers also spoke about retrenchment, and the closing down of the Drum magazine, which is now going to go digital. So times are getting more and more worse, you know. Instead, we now having investigations into the would-be 500 billion rands for the helping of our ailing economy. The government has 260 billion in terms of the budget that they've diverted in order to assist businesses, individuals, food parcels, and so forth, in order to keep us afloat during this time of the coronavirus. 240 billion is still required, of which is going to be asked all over the financial institution and even international financial institutions, which are going to compromise on our nation's sovereignty. Amid that, I mean, in the middle of this, now we're having the NPA, the Special Investigating Unit, the Hawks now already now waiting for a signature of the president in order to investigate over 70 companies who are involved in, corruptions and fraud and the stealing of this money of the COVID-19. I mean, it's just unbelievable, you know. But there's nothing surprising about this, folks. As you can remember, if the ANC government can steal money that was dedicated to the funeral of Nelson Mandela, and also we're seeing and hearing about some of the state's funeral money that's now it's been stolen. You know about the issues of Nando's and your KFCs that's worth tens and tens of thousand rands being stolen, and also the food parcels that goes to the constituencies of other councillors and not go to the rest of the community, regardless of what political party colors they are wearing. I mean, this is just, it's bad. In terms of the 1.5 million purported graves that are said to be dug, despite the fact that the modelers, the biggest number that we've been told of the people who would unfortunately leave this planet to the other side because of the COVID-19. They said, the modelers are saying that it's 50,000 people. So instead of building 50,000 equipped ICU beds, or at least half of that, then you see stories about digging of graves. One point, they probably are inflating the number of graves that are to be dug. We just hope that no one now has a tender of or the digger load companies that would then be able to make money out of the death and the funerals of the victims of the coronavirus. I mean, that would be the lowest depth that the ANC, essentially the ANC government, could go down to, honestly. I mean, at this time, we're not supposed to be worried about each and every expenditure that the government is going to be rolling out, worried about having to investigate and reclaiming at least 30% of the money that would then been stolen in these government contracts that are all over the show. I see it's just a whole lot of companies. The spokesperson of is it the SIU, or he was the former spokesperson of the SABC. Now he also said, no, we're not yet looking at investigating the Solidarity Fund yet. You know, it's just the relief funds that are supposed to go out and help people. The businesses are going down. They're not getting the funding that they're needing. And yet, you know, the corona economy is booming. It's booming. This is just a sad indictment on the government, really. And I remember when other political parties were asking the president to say, are you having systems and checks and balances in order so that the money that needs to go to the people who really need it at this time should get into those people's hands, you know? And he was vague in answering that, and now this is what we're having now. So this is quite bad, you know? So each and every single day you just ask yourself as to how low can the ANC government goes, you know? Because now obviously they've reached the ground level now, you know, they're digging in as in the graves that have been dug. This is just how low that now they're eventually going, and it's quite sad, honestly, quite sad. So also the story of the booze. The Financial Mail reports that shock booze ban wipes out 400 million per week. But who cares? Who cares if we talk about that, eh? So clearly there's no balance of livelihood as well as life, because we have to have a way in which business continues to be protected and jobs continue to be protected, because otherwise you're going to have more and more people who are going to starve and die as a result of breadwinners in the families not having jobs, you know. So there really should just be a balance. And unfortunately, the cabinet, clearly they don't have a coherent message. You'll see the tourism minister, you know, just not connected to the other ministerial departments, postponing of the press conferences, because then they would have then never got their act together. Now, as you have seen during the week, after proclamation of this regulation, the Minister of Justice also said that, hey, listen, we've got an email now for you to air out your view and give us advices about the regulations which they already now, you know, have kicked in. If you want to tell us, give us advice about alcohol, you know, how essentially we could sell alcohol and the safe way to do it, tell us. Whereas they've already enacted this regulations of saying that we've closed for alcohol. In fact, they have not even spoken to the alcohol industry about their closure. Remember that the alcohol industry was closed for like 3 months, and so then they opened. And when they opened, when the industry is getting together, imagine if you're a business person, you've got a whole lot of loss in terms of your business, and then you started now coming up a little bit, you know, trying to break even, or you go and take a bank loan so that maybe you can quadruple stocking up your products, your alcohol product. Then you stock up, and then you're ready to be selling on Monday, and then you watching TV on Sunday, watching the president speaking, and all of a sudden you hear the president says, "Hey, uh, we stopping the selling of alcohol with immediate effect, and all the loans that you've taken from the bank in order to put together an amount to stock your alcohol and trying to come back or break even with your business, all those things are gone." So some of the people who are owning your taverns and so forth, that they've maybe taken their last money and also borrowed money in order to restock and try to come back, you know, renewing and their livelihoods now are at a loss. That they're even worse off, you know, because you can see that this was not being viewed at in terms of business. It was like, oh, we're going to catch the alcohol drinking community on Sunday night and say we're stopping so that they cannot run to their stores and stock up and then go get drunk and now overwhelm the ICUs and the trauma units in the hospitals. This is how we're going to get them, yeah, and we're going to get them real good, yeah. We smart. So that's just about it. And thanks for watching the Mamu G show. I'm out.